Man, I feel so bad for Hisao right now. Like, dang. Oh my gosh. First, I get to this all awkward, confusing, disturbing 2 episodes of this, and then I get to so emotional. Like, oh, I feel so bad. With this running through my head, I find myself in front of the nurse's office, still brooding as he checks out Emmy. Emmy comes bounding out of the door, giving me a kiss and darting off to shower, I assume. Meanwhile, the nurse beckons me into the office and gives me the ritual once over. And any problems today? I forgot what his voice was too. I think I tried being Scottish, but it didn't work. Nah, I even pushed it a little harder today than I have in the past, and I seem to be able to handle it. That's uncharacteristically risky coming from you, Hisao. You've been hanging out with Emmy too much. She's rubbing off on you, and not necessarily in a good way. As I mention Emmy's name, I can't help but frown unhappily in spite of my efforts at control. Well now, this is new, don't you think? Last I checked, your usual response to Emmy's name is a grin, not a frown. What exactly happened between you two? Because Emmy doesn't seem to be in on it, whatever it is. She looked more relaxed than I've seen her in weeks. Which is unusual for this time of the year. What do you mean by that? By what? For this time of the year. I keep trying to find out what's been bothering her, but she clams up as soon as I broach the subject. Then last night she said, let me guess, she won't tell you because she says she can't trust you? And now you're crushed because you thought that the two of you were so close more than she seems to think, right? Or more or less. How the heck did you know? Hisao, I'm a nurse. It's my job to know these things. Sure. It's your job to know about the personal lives of us. Like the really, really personal stuff. Thanks. Thanks for telling us. Plus, I've known Emmy for long enough to know that she'd try to do something like this. It's just like her. He says this in sort of half affectionate, half frustrated tone that would seem more appropriate if he had a cigarette dangling from his lips. As it is, he seems willing to make do with a pen. Look. Do you mind if I give you some advice? Sure, why not? What was it Matao said yesterday? If you can't observe the thing, then observe what's around it? Worth a shot. The nurse knows Emmy's better than I do, I'll wager. Sure. I'm over for suggestions. Honestly, I'm kind of lost. I got no idea how to deal with this. I never would have guessed. He grins while he says this. I think he's kidding. Look, here's the deal. Emmy is stubborn. She should know that by now. You should know that by now. And if you don't, then you're pretty unobservant. But I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. I'm so grateful. Anyway, if she's decided that she doesn't want to talk about what happened, then she's not going to talk about what's happened. Has she said anything about what's been bothering her? Even a hint? Well, she did say she'd been having nightmares about the accident. Really? You're making progress then, that's good. Well, I guess I can fill you in on this without violating my strict non-interference policy when it comes to Emmy making stupid decisions. The anniversary of her accident is coming up soon. She gets depressed around this time because it was a pretty traumatic event, considering what she lost. That's the other thing. She acts like she lost more than her legs. What happened? Whoa! Nope, not going there. You'll have to ask someone else about that, because that's a whole can of worms I'm not about to open. I think she lost her dad. Didn't they mention her dad before? If Emmy wants you to know, she'll tell you in her own time. You just gotta be patient after all. That's all. Why are you even helping me with all this? Because you're good for her. She trusts you, even if you don't think she does. And you've got the best chance of anyone at the school right now to help her through this time of year. She won't accept my help, but she might accept yours if you don't screw it up. So don't screw it up, you got it? I open my mouth to respond before knocking on the door interrupts me.
Hey, you guys still in there?
Just a minute, Emmy. Give me a second to get our pants back on. The door bursts open and Emmy glares knives at the nurse. I love that.
Asshole.
Didn't mean to get your hopes up. Hey, can we leave me out of this? Anyway, what's up, Emmy? Forget something? I try to take a more cheerful tone with her. No need to upset her. Two can play the everything's fine game.
Actually, I forgot to ask you something.
Oh, what's that?
Do you want to come with me on a trip to my house? My mom's making dinner and I thought you might want to join us.
Well, of course I accept. Emmy punches the nurse in the arm playfully.
Not you, idiot. You were there over last week. I was talking about Hisao.
Oh, how interesting. Meeting the parents. I'd love to go, Emmy. Thanks. The nurse raises an eyebrow, but says nothing.
Great. I'll be in my room. Swing by after your shower and change into something clean, and we'll grab the bus.
Sounds good. I'll see you in a bit. This time, it's me who leans in a quick kiss before darting out to my room. What an interesting development. Maybe we're getting closer after all. Maybe Emmy's finally ready to open up a little. Or maybe she's just being polite, and a free meal seems like a good way to apologize for last night. Great. Now I can't decide whether to be excited, nervous, or depressed. I settle for a combined of all three and hop into the shower. I don't think I like riding on buses. Actually, I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that as a fact. They sway a lot, and they smell funny, and you can feel every bump in the road. I'm really not looking forward to this. Plus, Emmy's legs keep making a clanging noise that draws attention of everyone else on the bus. She's in shorts again, and she's got long socks drawn up on her prosthetics so they don't look so obviously false again. But that doesn't stop the odd look or two every time her legs bump together with an audible clunk. I shift nervously in my seat. Emmy raises an eyebrow questioningly. She doesn't seem to mind the stares, either that or she doesn't even notice that people are staring. I'm sure she's gotten her fill of odd looks before. After a certain amount of time, I doubt she'd notice anymore. Not that she'd ever tell me if I asked. Now the fact is, I'm not just uncomfortable about the bus. I can't seem to come to terms with the fact that Emmy appears to be trying to bring me closer while at the same time pushing me away. The nurse says she trusts me even if it doesn't look like it. But I'm not sure I can trust the nurse. He's protective of Emmy, just like I'm protective of Emmy, and I'd be likely to say something to make her look good if someone asked me about her. So I might just be doing that. Still, there was something about the way he seemed genuinely surprised about Emmy invited me along. Maybe last night's talk helped more than I think, but I'm still worried. Meeting the parents is a big deal, right? Not that I haven't already met Emmy's mother, but that was just as an acquaintance. Now it's going to be as Emmy's boyfriend, with everything that implies. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest and an echo that snow-covered afternoon that feels like it was so long ago that it might as well have be another life entirely. Except then, I didn't know what was going on. I also didn't have medication to help prevent things spiraling out of control. I come to look way in terms of my physical health, and for the second time today, I feel like I'll be able to live normally now, or at least as normally as possible. Now if only I could manage my relationship as well as I've managed my heart, I'd be in great shape.
Well, we're here.
Emmy grabs my hand as soon as we've stepped off the bus. She starts heading down the street almost immediately.
Come on, we've got a couple of blocks until my place.
What? Oh, okay. I follow Emmy down the street, watching her confide stride. She's sitting kind kind of a quick pace for just a walk. Guess she's anxious to get there. So does your mom do this sort of thing often?
Nah, not too frequently. Mom's never been much for playing hostess.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, my dad was always the one pushing her to have people over.
This sudden and unprompted reference to her father catches me off guard. And from the look on Emmy's face, I'm not sure she meant to mention him. I think I've only ever heard her talk about him once. All I remember is that Emmy's mom told me that he wasn't around anymore. Oh, your mom prefers solitude? Emmy laughs, either from relief that I didn't ask her about her father, or for finding my statement actually funny.
Not at all. She's why I'm such an outgoing person, you know. She just prefers to be a guest rather than a hostess. It's less stressful that way, or so she says.
Clearly, she's never had to meet her girlfriend's mother for dinner. Emmy giggles again and speaks in a teasing tone.
Nervous, Hisao? You shouldn't be, you know. It's not that big of a deal. Just dinner at my house, that's all.
Yeah, but have you ever brought home a boyfriend before? I confess that part of me dreads hearing the answer to this. I know very little of Emmy's past relationships. I don't even know if there were past relationships.
No, I guess I haven't. Hey, maybe this really is kind of a big deal after all.
Oh good, now I feel twice as nervous. Though to tell the truth, I'm pretty happy to hear that I'm the first one. Maybe we've got something special after all. Bolstered by this new thought, I've managed to calm down considerably by the time Emmy knocks on the front door.
Here, Mom, open up, we're here.
Well, hello there. Miss actually detailed a little bit more than Emmy. The door swings open and Miss Ibarazaki stands grinning at her daughter. The grin is still surprisingly similar to Emmy's. I'm never going to get used to that. You know, people normally wait for a few minutes before they start shouting at the door.
And most mothers say hello to their daughters instead of scolding them right away.
Of course. Welcome home, dear. I've missed you. An affectionate hug later, we're inside. And it is only then that Emmy's mom seems to remember that I'm actually here. Oh, hello to see you, Hisao. How are you? I'm quite well, thank you. Nice to not have school to worry about for a little bit. Ah, yes. You finished up your exams, haven't you? That must be quite a relief for you both. It's certainly a weight off my mind, that's for sure.
Mine too. I think I slept well for the first time in weeks last night from relief alone.
If this news is a surprise to Emmy's mother, she doesn't show it. Still, her response betrays a note of interest. Is that so? I'm very glad to hear that, Emmy. You know, I got worried when you get all wound up about, well, exams. Certainly Emmy's mother knows everything, something I don't. Or rather, she doesn't know that Emmy's told me about the nightmares. It's interesting, being able to observe how Miss Ibarazaki covers for Emmy. That protective instinct is to make sure that I don't know any more than Emmy's willing to tell me. I suppose Emmy's got more in common with Quarks than I ever realized. Moves around fast, impossible to understand through direct observation, yet she has an effect on everyone she encounters. I wonder if Miss Ibarazaki will figure out that I know about the nightmares, or is she just keeping everything secret from everyone?
Yeah, it's not been as bad this year as in the past. Hisao helped me to stay focused.
Okay, I know that's not true. She even cut off contact outside of school hours during exam week. But she did see me during the day, and she told me more than once that the morning run was the only thing she looked forward to during exams. So maybe it's not that much of a lie. Either way, to hear that being around has helped even a little makes me feel a bit better. Emmy's mother raises an eyebrow at the statement, Either she doesn't believe Emmy, or she's as surprised as I am. Well, then it appears that it's a good thing you two have become so close. I tell you to take good care of my daughter, Hisao, but it looks like you're already doing that. Emmy grins at this and seems to take pride in my having managed to ingratiate English myself with her mother so easily. Actually, I'd say your daughter has been the one taking care of me. She's gotten me out and running. I've probably been more active since meeting her than I ever was, even before. I'd actually never thought of it that much, nor had I ever appreciated the humor in it. I wasn't too active before the heart attack. Pick-up games of soccer didn't really count since they weren't that common. So now that I know for sure that I have a weak heart, now I run every day, pushing my luck with the help of my medication. I chuckle quietly, then realized that I never finished my sentence. Well, before I had my heart attack and wound up at school here, comes out so casually, there was a time that I would have thought twice about talking about what was wrong with me at all. But now it just seems silly to care, especially in the company of Emmy and her mother. If Emmy can be cavalier about her disability, and so can I. I think back to the track meet, where Emmy declares herself the fastest thing on no legs. The fact of her obvious loss has never seemed to bother her, at least not in public. Being stuck in the wheelchair frustrated her, I know, but even that was something she dealt with on her own, despite my efforts to the contrary. Emmy has a way of bringing out the more active side in people. I've never quite figured out how she does it. Those puppy dog eyes she gets, for starters. I'm not surprised that she managed to rope you into an exercise routine. If Ren weren't just as stubborn as she is, I'm sure that Emmy would have gotten her out and running with you too.
Oh, that reminds me. Ren says hello.
I drifted to the outer edges of the conversation again as we move into the dining room to eat. It smells delicious in here, and the spread that Emmy's mom has produced is impressive.
Whoa, you've made enough to feed an army in here.
Is this too much? Well, you can always take some leftovers with you when you go. That sounds great. I can only handle cafeteria food for so long. Something home cooked would be a welcome change of pace.
What he said. Thanks, Mom.
The food tastes as good as it smells, and there's a lull in the conversation while we all dig in. Emmy assaults her plate with an unusual amount of gusto, and I'll admit that I set a pretty fast pace myself. So, Hisao, I heard that you and my daughter have gotten rather close, The urge to say something like "not really" is so strong that I open my mouth to say it, but then reassert control. We are close. There's no getting around it. I mean, Emmy's brought me here, hasn't she? Fortunately, both her and her mother seem to take my reaction as a sign that I'm caught off guard rather than saying something cruel. Heh, I suppose we have. I blame the morning runs myself.
You make it sound like a bad thing, Hisao.
Oh, I, for one, found it a relief. Why is that? Emmy's always been a popular girl, but never made many close friends. It's a bit of news to me. I've always seen Emmy chatting with her classmates in the hallways. And certainly the whole track team seems to love her, but it is true that she chooses to isolate herself during lunch with Rin and me. Not exactly the sort of behavior one expects from a popular girl, after all. Then again, I've experienced her unwillingness to get close firsthand, so I can't say I'm that surprised. I was beginning to have my doubts. Emmy rolls her eyes to the ceiling and grumbles something I can't quite make out. Huh?
What?
What's that you just said?
Nothing.
Miss Ibarazaki chokes on her drink with laughter. You've been hanging out with a nurse too long, Emmy. I'm going to have to talk to him about corrupting my daughter. Somehow I don't think that would be very effective. Oh my gosh, that face. Again, that face. It just stares to your soul, man.
I learned most of it from you anyway, not the nurse.
Don't listen to her, Sal. She's a born liar.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't know, Emmy. I think your mom has a little point there.
What? You traitor! You're supposed to take my side in this.
Yeah, but you did lie about your leg after the... Ow! A kick to the shins from an unmistakably plastic foot cuts me off, but not before Miss Ibarazaki's eyebrows shoot upwards. What about your leg?
It was a big deal, that's all. I just was, in a wheelchair for a bit.
The last few mumbled words I quickly deciphered by Emmy's mother. I suspect she has experience with this sort of thing, and a worried frown appears on her face. So that's why he kept dodging my calls. Oh, Emmy, I know how much you hate being in a wheelchair. No wonder you've been in a mood lately. Yeah, she's much happier on her feet, so to speak. Well, of course, she spent enough time in a chair just after the accident. She didn't get prosthetics immediately? No, she had to finish healing up before they let her start the sort of therapy you got to go through to adjust to those things. Especially since she wanted to run on them. I had no idea.
Yeah, it sucked. Oh, did you see Ren's mural at the festival?
Emmy's sudden change of topic makes me realize blatantly that she's been fidgeting the whole time her mother and I have been talking. I should have figured on her being a little skittish when it comes to talk about the accident, even around her mother. No, I didn't make it to the festival, remember? Although I caught a glimpse of it at your track meet, it seemed pretty weird to me.
I think it's more or less what she was going for. She talked a lot about it being dreamlike, or like to make it dreamlike.
Ms. Art is one of those things I don't think I'll ever understand. I don't think any of us will.
That's not surprising. I don't think Ren expects to be understood. She told me once that art allows people to understand stuff they wouldn't understand otherwise, but all the same, she doesn't think it actually works that way.
I'm surprised that Emmy's talked about this with Ren extensively enough to actually have Ren's opinion such as it is. Although I expect that Ren could not, if she were so inclined, say the same thing about Emmy's. Unless of course Emmy is purposely keeping me in the dark about everything, which is likely but unpleasant to think about. I drift down this unpleasant train of thought for a while, losing track of the conversation. Hey Emmy, I've been meaning to ask.
Huh?
Are you going to visit your father this year? From the way she says it, you'd think Emmy's mother was talking about the weather. From the way Emmy reacts, it's clearly not the weather they're talking about. She flinches, a slight jerk of the head backwards as if she was just slapped in the face.
Can we talk about this later?
Her voice sounds brittle, strained. It looks as if she's been severely shanked by the question. It seems that Miss Irizaki must judge just how close Emmy and I are. Some things, it seems, are best not conversed about with me around. Her father is one of those things. The accident that took her legs is probably another one of those things, if reaction to the earlier conversation between her and her mother and myself is any indication. It doesn't take Emmy's mother long to realize she screwed up. Of course we can, dear. I'm sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to ask so I can make plans.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
Emmy fidgets nervously as if embarrassed by her own reaction. I confess that her reaction is confusing. She only just mentioned her father to me earlier today, less than a few hours ago even. Why does a simple question about when she'll visit her father cause such a strong reaction? Unless whatever serenity she claimed to have reached by means of our talk the previous evening has suddenly evaporated. Or it didn't help as much as she thought or claimed.
Yeah, be right back. Gotta visit the little girl's room.